I am here chatting with my dear, dear singer friend Mariela Contreras tonight. We're just chit chatting about the singer life and, how much of a change we're all going through. And, uh, you know, it's a crisis and it's really hit the community really, really hard. But there is good news. There's still good things happening, and we kind of want to focus on that tonight. And um, see where our conversation takes us. But let me introduce this lovely first. This is Mariela Contreras. I have known her since she was 20 years old. So I've gotten to see her grow into a really phenomenal person. She was phenomenal when I met her, but she's just really incredible. Um, as far as your musical background, you are based here in San Diego. You're a bilingual vocalist, and you're also an educator, right? And tell me the tell me who you've opened for.
Hi. I've opened for Ali Guerra, for Romeo Santos, for Selena Gomez, for Rosana. No, I'm missing one more. Um, and Mana, for the Mexican rock band Mana.
Perfect. I had you do that introduction so I wouldn't butcher it. Yeah, and also in 2016, you were selected as the lead singer for the NFL team, the San Diego Chargers, when they were here in town. That was so cool.
Yeah.
And currently, you're performing with your Latin pop and R&B band,
Mhm.
with your trio Trace, and with the San Diego Latin Jazz Collective.
Yes,
Am I getting that right?
yes, you are.
Yes, and you put out quite a few singles last year with Jesse Audello producing.
We're
Yeah,
missing two more. Two more are about to come out. Just working on the creative release of the two more singles that we worked together. And
awesome, cool. And now you've just finished up some credentials for teaching, and along with that, you also host music, arts, and yoga camps for children throughout the summer with your organization. Let's start there. Tell me about that.
yeah. Um, well, thank you for the introduction. The organization that I've developed is called Musayo. It stands for Music, Arts, and Yoga. And it is an organization that was inspired by the yoga practice and by music and music education, and it is a way of teaching kids uh, the beginnings of music theory
Mhm.
using a piano mat, 2 octaves of a yoga mat that have a piano printed on them,
Mhm.
and kids learn to use the symbols, the music symbols, like the treble clef for the right hand and the bass clef for the left hand.
Mhm.
And they start uh, being prompted into yoga poses with the knowledge of the piano mat, kind of
Mhm.
like a piano twister situation,
Yeah.
um, with yoga poses involved. Um, they hold a pose for a quarter note, for a half note, for a dotted half note. You know, all the rhythm values, and they're just pretty much practicing music theory in a physical way.
Yeah.
So I've decided, or I started that organization in 2017. I created the yoga mat, and and I started testing it out on a couple of my students, and they really liked it, and they really liked practicing yoga, and they seemed to focus and learn the material more because it was a very hands-on activity to practice. And after I saw how well it was doing with my kiddos, I started hosting different camps around town. um, I did one for the Athenaeum Art Center in Barrio Logan last summer, and we were supposed to start one this summer, but we have to we have to figure out how we're gonna do that in a safe way.
Yeah.
And then another one was with Sacra Profana, the choir organization, the nonprofit organization that's here in San Diego as well. I collaborated with them. So so slowly I've been building the curriculum to be able to offer this experience for kids during the summer and for kids in the classroom as well.
Yeah. So the credential program that you just finished, does that kind of work in line with this work that you're doing, or are they just two totally separate things? Or are you marrying them somehow?
You know what? The intention of the credential was to legitimize the program and to develop a curriculum that was following the California Common Core standards, and the intention was to be able to legitimize the curriculum, and it's on its way. It's being legitimized, and it's being uh, validated by a panel of
Mhm.
professionals that are giving me some feedback on the curriculum. But I somehow got a little bit distracted. I don't want to say distracted. It was a great thing, but I was um, kind of like how do you say it? Not shoved or pushed. That's way too aggressive. I was lightly moved towards
You were
multiple sub
encouraged.
encouraged towards multiple subjects. So that means that I can teach any subject. I could be a school teacher. But then I started realizing, like, how can I make it so that school teachers can integrate this and use math and language to teach music?
Mhm.
So I did see a lot of opportunities to marry both and all subjects. Um, so I'm working on that. I'm, like I said, working on the curriculum so that a school teacher can easily implement some quick yoga practices for their kids in between a math lesson, in between a language arts
Mhm.
lesson, and have it be something fun for the kids where they don't even realize they're learning music, but they are.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that's so cool. It
yeah.
makes my heart so happy because as long as I have known you, you have one, been a kid person. You are that type of person that kids are just magnetized to. You have such a gift for, relating with children and just making them, feel wonderful. And I've also known you as being such a committed student. You're like a lifelong learner, and you've always been pursuing your education and just taking on more and more. And it just makes my heart so happy to see you going down this road because it's like it just seems perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It feels that way. It feels very right, and it feels very I don't know what it is about kids that really they energize me. And anytime there's a kid in the room, I just feel like there's future in the room,
Aw.
and I just think it's very important to give them the best that we can as grown-ups, and to guide them towards towards good knowledge and education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I've also known you all this time as a working professional singer as well. So at the beginning, of course, I we introduced all of the bands that you're working with now. But now that we find ourselves in this situation, what are you working on right now, staying musically involved?
Um, well, I think coming out of being in school, I realized how much I shifted my attention towards studies, and I kind of, I don't want to say neglected my artistic self, but I did give, I split myself, and I gave myself to education. And even though I kept singing and I kept performing, um, I now have the time, now that I'm out of school, I have the time to actually work on my voice and to and to write music again, and to perform. So right now I have a stream every Friday with my boyfriend Tonga Rosmau at 6:30 here in our living room. We sing songs that we both like and that I usually don't have the chance to perform live. So we've been streaming online, and I've been writing a lot. I've been writing so much, trying to take advantage of the time I have to myself to just write and to write.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I watched your live and it was awesome. I loved it so much. So everybody should go and watch that.
Thank you.
Um, we have some friends that are have joined us here on Facebook. Mike Holguin, he's sending out big hugs to both of us.
Thank you. Hi, Mike.
And Tim Moore, he's here too. Tim has a cabaret night that he does online, and he's inviting us to do that. So we'll definitely
Okay.
have to check
Yeah.
that out. That's so cool. And some other friends. Robert Dove's here.
Hi, Robert.
Yay. Forgive me if I'm missing anybody, but I can't read the comments that quick.
Hi to all of our Facebook friends. Thank you so much
Yes.
for logging in.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I wanted to ask you, so you're doing your Facebook Live, and I don't know about you, but when all of this hit, um, obviously it radically changes the pace of our life.
Mhm.
We're accustomed to just kind of living on this gig schedule or school schedule, and it's such a huge abrupt change. But for me, I was like immediately compelled to start doing all of these things that I had, otherwise neglected, like online courses I had bought ages ago, and, working on my piano skills, which are like grossly neglected. were what were some of the things that you jumped into that you hadn't had a chance to do?
Oh man, the first thing I jumped into was eating.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just,
yes.
that was one thing, not musically related, but that was the first thing. But I immediately jumped into listening back on recordings and trying to work on my voice.
Hmm.
Such an instrument, and just like maybe piano hasn't gotten your attention. um, my voice didn't, and I wasn't really working on it, so I immediately faced the 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 reality of recording my voice and listening back. and it takes some courage to listen back and say, well, this is what I need to work on. So that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to get comfortable with listening back and saying, and having my boyfriend give me some advice that sometimes I don't want to hear. but
Yeah.
I have to
You're like,
I
honey,
listen.
does my voice sound fat in this recording?
Can you hear the cupcakes I ate last week? No. No. I started recording and listening back. I started playing guitar. Um, so I've been playing a lot of guitar. And what else did I do? I immediately started writing, um, and just remembering that I've been a singer for a long time. And even though I got a little bit, I went on another path for a while and a little bit. There's a way for music to exist in education. So I am trying to integrate music into the classroom and see how I'm going to have my kids engaged through music, and at the same time keep working on my guitar skills and my voice. So that's what I did. I hope
Yeah,
I
yeah.
answered your question.
How about home recording? Had you ever been into that, or are you getting into that now?
I am.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't before. I haven't been.
Mhm.
I've never. I always go to somebody, and somebody always does it with me. I've recorded my students, but I'm at I'm like super beginner with Logic and with other programs. Uh, so I'm starting to learn. I'm learning a lot of recording and recording instruments. Um, so I've been trying to learn more about recording myself, which I think every vocalist should do. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
very important to know a little bit about your voice and how it works when it's recorded.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm learning,
Yeah. I
learning.
know. I was the same too. And I think it was something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to have, a great recording situation here that, if a project came my way, I could just do it. But I just hadn't gotten to it yet. And this really, forced me to put things together and kind of face, I think my fear around it was the technology and just, being unsure of that and just I don't know, not wanting to deal with it. But now that I've faced it, it's not that big of a deal.
Right,
And I've had all this equipment all this time, and it's just been
right. And I
sitting
think
around.
I mean, you're wonderful. You usually figure things out very easily, and you're super tech. You are techie. You are savvy. I remember having some technical issues in the past, and you just guiding me through them. So I'm pretty sure, if both of us can figure this out, any singer can,
Yes.
anybody can. So it's just a matter of clicking away. Just click until it does what you want it to do.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I think that any, singers out there that, um, do want to record and still want to be involved with performing and everything, um, just go for it because honestly, the technology isn't that complicated anymore. You can start with something as simple as your laptop and a USB mic, and just even if you've got just GarageBand or something on your computer, you'll be up and running. Within an hour doing your thing, and it's so worth just trying and getting into it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
yeah. So how do you think, since we've been in the shelter in place for so long now, um, things are so indefinite about when we'll be back performing. I know it seems like things in California are moving along quicker now, but it could definitely be a while. What? How do you think this has changed you permanently? Like, are you looking at your career or the way you approach things differently? And let me preface that by the reason I'm really asking this is because um, I saw Rebecca Jade on Sunday, and we were chatting, and she said um, it would be such a shame if we came out of this without having learned something great about the world or ourselves, or that we don't come out changed for the better. And I love that she said that because I've really been thinking about that since. What do you think about that? Have you changed anything, or are you a different person now?
Um, man, that's a wonderful thing. I mean, yeah, it would be a big shame uh, to, yeah, to not take this as a lesson. Um, I mean, yeah, I think it set in probably a month ago when um, we started getting our routine for grocery shopping and for going out and not seeing our friends and family and doing the online stream every Friday. I'm like, well, when is this online stream going to stop? When is it going to turn into an actual performance? And I started reflecting on it and thinking, well, you know, I mean, what do we do? We bring people together in one place, and people usually come to performances to escape, work, to I
Mm-hmm.
mean, to have fun and to enjoy time with their friends and with people. And you know, it does really sadden me that if you really think about it, it's not going to happen like that in a while. I don't know, I don't I don't like thinking about it because it makes me so sad. But
Yeah.
you know, people find ways of of coming together. And we as humans are very creative.
Yeah.
And I think there will be a time, I'm optimistic, I'm absolutely optimistic that there will be a time where we are going to be back to being able to be close together in a space,
Mhm.
listening to music and being with friends. Um, but for the meantime, I think adapting to the situation and being safe about it will lead us to that moment when we can get back to things again. I'm just I can't I'm so thankful for what we do and just thinking about what our performances on Tuesdays. I would perform with the San Diego Latin Jazz Collective on Tuesdays at Prohibition in San Diego. Everything is tight and people are so close together. It's hot, so people are
Mhm.
sweating. Everybody's drinking, everybody's talking close to each other. I'm like, that's not gonna happen anytime soon. Like, we're not
Right.
gonna be that close anytime soon. So I'm thinking, maybe house streams, maybe going over to the businesses and supporting businesses and doing some kind of partnership with businesses where music and art are streamed together.
Mhm.
Um, I think that would be an adaptation. In education, I'm going to tie this in because in education we always find a way to adapt
Mhm.
and differentiate learning for different kids.
Yeah.
So, you just there's always a way. You just always have to try different things until the right thing works.
Mhm.
And I'm a firm believer of that. I absolutely believe that we will all come out of this and we will all learn a lesson, I hope. And I don't know. Did I answer your question? I'm
Yeah.
just talking,
Yeah.
talking.
You did.
Um,
There's a million things that can come out of this. I mean, I think it's going to change the way that, like you said, like we make music together, at least for a while. And thank God there are such creative minds out there because I think ideas for performance platforms are probably popping up all the time and people are going to come up with, these great, brilliant ideas that we hadn't otherwise tried before. Um, but I also think just as such, social creatures with our bands and, musicians and everything, it's made me look at my relationships just in a completely different light. I'm normally a pretty introverted person, so being at home by myself all day is not a real negative. But since it's been since it's been so long, I just it really has made me realize just how um, how much I do need people and how much I just truly love our community and just all the good that they pour into our lives and that's definitely a huge void right now, so
yeah.
really hoping that you know that
Oh,
we are we are back
yeah.
with one another
I
soon.
mean, I'm wondering if they're gonna. I mean, here's an idea.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if someone's gonna make a mask specifically for singers,
Mm,
like with already a mic built into the mask.
yeah.
Something where
Hmm.
like a filter. I don't know. Like, what can we do for singers? We sing and we use the mic. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you watch SpongeBob SquarePants? Okay. Sandy the squirrel, how she wears her little dome? I don't see why that wouldn't work. It's
You could
worth
take it
trying.
off, paint the little dome. Have some water ready with a straw right there.
Yes. It'll just fill up enough so you can sip for a while and then it'll come back down. Oh my God. Okay, we have some people making some comments over here, and let me see if I can scroll to get to some of them. Hi, Chuck Phillips. He says
Hi,
good
Chuck.
evening. Miss you, Chuck. Um, Yes. So Jeff Evans is asking, when are you appearing on The Voice or America's Got Talent? Is that are the TV shows something you ever considered in your career?
You know what? I did when I was younger.
Hmm.
Um, but I started, I don't know, maybe it was insecurity, I have to admit. Um, just not having that like huge belting Kelly Clarkson voice, you know? Um, I have, and I'm still getting to know my voice after 11 years of singing professionally. I'm still trying to get to know it. I think I have like a soft, more intimate and soulful voice. And I've always done like, I don't know if I could, if I could make it to any big round, you know? So
Hmm.
maybe it is something I need to reconsider and say, you know what? There's beauty in all kinds of voice. I don't have to belt to
Right.
express
Right.
a feeling. So I don't know. That's a good question. We just recently had, I mean, we have a San Diego artist on America's Got Talent right now. They're actually, I think I'll give them a shout out. They're going on tonight, and it's the Voices of Our City Choir,
Yes.
led by Seth
Yes.
Johnson and Rob Thorson, and Ed Kornhauser is also playing. So I know, I mean, some of our lovely San Diego community peeps are there, and also Miss Idris,
That's right.
the
Cedrice
voice.
killing it on The Voice. Was she? I think she's home now, but she did an amazing job. That was so
Yeah.
cool.
So maybe, after seeing them, I might be motivated and inspired to say, I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks
I've
for
always had like mixed feelings about the shows. I auditioned for American Idol when it first came out. Um, but I've just kind of had this like love-hate relationship with making I don't know, having feelings about how it's produced and the authenticity of it all. But I think as time goes on, I've really loved the I don't know, the diversity and just the kind of the unique talents that they've pulled out. I've really loved seeing that. And so I think maybe it is making space for other types of singers other than the, Kelly Clarkson belters,
yeah,
It just
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
kind of
maybe.
opens the door and shows us stuff that we didn't otherwise, know that we liked.
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I think there's I've had a confusion with singing in English and in Spanish. So I've always just debated. I've
Hmm.
always debated, like, if I audition, do I audition with Spanish or do I audition with English? How do I sound in English and in Spanish? So that's something that I've always tried to nail down and say, well, what do I sing? Do I sing in English? Do I sing in Spanish? Do I sing in both?
Yeah.
What is it? So I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the music, the singles that you're putting out, was that a big debate for you when you were creating that music? Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry. I needed to sneeze. Um, thank you. Yes, it definitely was. And later on, when I release the last single that I have with Mr. Jesse, um, I'll write up about it and say, well, I'll give you the exclusive. Um,
You heard it first here.
heard it first here. I was sitting in the studio and we were mixing the vocals and the instruments, and well, he was. I was watching. Um, but I told him, you know what? I want to record this song in one language and then I want to record it in another one. I want both languages to be represented. And then he just turns around and looks at me and he says, why don't you just do them two languages in one song? Why don't you bring those languages together? And I, in my mind, thought, no, I can't mix languages. That's not allowed. And then I started thinking about it and thinking about it. I'm like, who says this is not allowed? Why are two languages in one song not allowed? You know? And I live by this through my credential because it's a bilingual credential, and what we learn as teachers is that some kids know both languages and they don't know the correct way to say something in one language, they don't know the correct way to say it in another language, and they use what they have in their toolkit to
Mhm.
express themselves, and that is okay. That is okay. There is no right way to say something in a language
Mhm.
unless it's academic, but we won't go in there. But my point is that for expression, I can bring both languages together in one song and they can coexist in one song. And when he told me that, I decided to mix the languages in one of the songs that's going to be coming out. Um, and and that was my way of bringing both languages together and being okay with it myself, because I grew up in a Mexican household where you could not mix languages. You cannot mix languages at all. And and I kind of said, you know what? I'm taking a stand. My family might not like this, but I have the best intentions for mixing languages here because I want this song to be understood by both audiences.
Mhm.
So I forgot the question.
Oh, well, I was asking, if that was a choice that you really debated, was doing it in both languages. So,
It was both
yeah.
languages are part of me now. Like I speak both. I'm not native to either one of them at this point, and I am having a hard time writing in English right now. Everything is coming out in Spanish, but I'm thinking, well, give it some time.
Mhm.
You know, there your heart will express itself in both languages, so you just need to allow it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that really, I mean, that's really the work of developing your artistry, is just carving out that very unique space in the world that is purely uniquely you, and that is really hard to do sometimes.
Right.
And I think it's amazing that you opened up to doing that, because that is you. You're bilingual, and that's a very important characteristic that you hold in your life, even with your education. And I think that you know that'll be something that also differentiates you in your music. And I think we trip ourselves up so much when we get into that, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that type thing. That's tough.
Right. We
Yeah.
shouldn't build those barriers for ourselves. I think
Mhm.
it takes a while to break them down, especially with music. And I think we should allow. I think creativity should have no boundaries
Mhm.
um, when it comes to what's expressing what's in your heart. It doesn't matter what language it is. So just I would say tear those barriers down and just start creating.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think you come from the same background as me, doing a lot of covers, so we get this mixed message as singers, where as cover artists we want to do a really great interpretation and do justice for the original artist. And oftentimes you're hired to sound like
Mhm.
the people that you're covering, right? But then when we try to step into our you know individual artistry, that is really, really difficult, and it's hard to find, kind of click into what your unique sound is. I find that when I'm trying to write, I get really, really caught up in that. Oh, this is not a commercial way of writing something, or this doesn't sound in your lane,
Right.
things like that.
Right.
it's it's really hard to break out of that,
Right,
you
it
know.
is. I think like how okay, so I know the rules. I'm supposed to sing like this artist, but after doing it so much, yeah, like you said, like we've done, it's like, well, I don't know what my voice sounds like. Takes some searching. It takes some digging and searching and trying to say, well, right now I'm not being a cover artist. Right now I'm speaking from the heart. So what does that sound like? Yeah, that takes
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. What's your writing process like? Do you
Um,
just kind of start working if inspiration hits you, or are you deliberate about scheduling writing time, or how's that work for you?
Lately it's been journaling what's leading me to a lot of
Oh.
soul searching. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll wake up in the morning and I'll start journaling my 3 pages or two. Start journaling, and then if I sense or see that there's a topic that I'm repeating and repeating and repeating, I'll start working on that topic, and I'll just, let's say, for example, yesterday it was, it was, I haven't written about love, well, as Courtney as that as court, sorry, as cheesy as that sounds, I haven't written about love, and I've gotten to a point where I'm not afraid to say it. I'm very much in love, and I want to write about it, and I want to sing about it in my words, not in somebody else's words. And I just started digging into that. I'm like, okay, so what does it look like to me? What do I feel? What do I, and all of those questions, and just writing down whatever comes to mind. No order, no pattern yet.
Mm-hmm.
Just writing whatever comes, and then having that sitting in my head and in my heart. I'm like, oh, and if I'm cooking, or if I'm like doing something that doesn't require much thinking, um, I just come back and say, oh, I have an idea, and I'll just write it down, you know. So there's it's a very intimate process to me. It's just writing and talking to myself, and that's what I tell my students. Um, don't try to write for an audience. Don't try to stay with these between these boxes. Don't limit yourself. Write first, and then when you have the subject thought out
Yeah.
and felt, you can bring it in and start organizing however you want it. So that's been what's given me the 3 songs that I've released that I'm very proud of. Um, and that's pretty much how I worked them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great process too. I am kind of convinced for myself that I'm not going to make much progress if I don't schedule the time to do it. But, I things are different in my household, so but I love that process though of because if I try to think through the idea of a song, I immediately am trapped in the okay, well, this is how this would, be structured the right way to do
Right.
something. But it is those times when I think I just kind of allow myself to like brain dump and just,
Mhm.
let it come out dirty and
Yep.
whatever to the
Yep.
paper, then
Yep.
then it's easier to refine it and not make it feel so, you know, mechanical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, the initial process is that brain dump that you're speaking of. But I do set goals. I say, well, by the end of this week, I want to have this song done. So,
Mm-hmm.
there are times where I sit down and I have to work on this today. I think the online streams have kept me um, like on a tight schedule, because I purposely mentioned that I'll have a new song next week,
Mm-hmm.
so that I have to finish it. So I know I do believe in structure. I mean, within the structure there are liberties, and I make sure that I kind of trick myself into being free within, like, you have to finish this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. Well, you are a very disciplined person. I've known that when you have a goal, you just kind of like power through it, and I really admire that about you. Let me check the comments here. Oh, Kevin Leteau says hello, Mariela.
Hi, Kevin. You know, I'll speak to that. She has helped me a lot with my voice. A lot of the understanding that I have about my voice comes from her and her advice. And the first 3 songs that I released were all under her instruct. Like, she gave me the training to record those voices, and you know, I've been meaning to come back to lessons. I really am. And she knows that. But it's been hard. Sometimes I think I can do it on my own,
Mhm.
and then I think, nope, I need somebody else to help me, to guide me, to guide me through these exercises.
Yeah.
So big shout out to Miss Kevin Lateau. Very
Yep.
thankful for
She's pretty awesome.
that. Yeah.
Um, Speaking of that, I think I I really love working with singers who are really professionally minded, who really want to get into the business. It's just an area that I have special interest in. Um, and I, like I said from the beginning, met you when you were 20 years old, but you had already started singing professionally. You started like at 13, 14 years old singing in Tijuana
Yeah.
and performing. Um, just looking back, if you had to give advice now to a young singer who's thinking about either getting into the business or getting their music education, looking back, is there advice that you'd give them based on, you know, um, things that you would have constructed differently, or how would you go about it now if you were just starting?
Man, that's a great question. um, whew. Well, now looking back, I think, yeah, I don't regret any of my path. I'm thankful for how things got laid out specifically for me, and the search, you know. But if I would be advising a young singer, I would say, make sure you learn an instrument. Make sure
Yes.
you learn an instrument, um, from a young age. Um, I would I would really advise them to get to know their voice by journaling. Always journal. Get to know your voice. Get to know your feelings, because when we start singing covers, we start imitating. And
Mm-hmm.
specifically, I
Yeah.
loved imitating, the artists. So I think my advice would be to learn an instrument, to um, to get to know their voice and know that there is a difference between singing somebody else's song and singing your own.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say, do it as much as possible. Sing as much as possible. Go out, go out and sing. Collaborate with people. Get out in the scene. Go listen to people. Sometimes our students, or younger singing students, are young and they can't go into bars.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now more than ever, you could just like go into the online streams of artists. I know, of
Yeah.
course, if you're 18 and older or 16 and older and your mom and dad let you into the internet, go search for your favorite artists, look at them, observe them, um, listen to their interviews. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I think those would be my biggest uh, tips for young
Yeah.
singers.
I think that's all really, really great advice. And I think something that I've seen you do in your career that seems like it has, kind of kept you on this forward moving trajectory towards, all of the different things is that you are, you were you've always been willing to take risks and try new things and put yourself in different situations, um, just to you know keep moving forward and to like better your craft, better your business sense, and just your overall education. I mean, um, I've seen you take little risks to big risks, and one that comes to mind is, I mean, you um, took a gig on a remote island and you were there for a long time. And that was a big risk that you took. But I am totally a firm believer that, we just have to listen to our gut sometimes. And even if there's the smallest voice that says, just try it, just do it. It really is incredible how one thing will lead to another, will lead to another.
Mhm.
Um, does anything come to mind for you, like maybe something coming from that gig that you took? Um, what was the island that you went to?
I went to the Maldive Islands.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Did anything ultimately, kind of spin off from that for you that led you to something else, or maybe some a different situation altogether?
Oh man. I mean, you say that and I have to smile because that was a big highlight for me as a singer. Because of the company and because of, I mean, the place. Um, ugh. um, I think, well, that's where I wrote my three singles. That's where I had the time. I was isolated and I had the time to think and to dig and to really reflect on my voice and my path as a singer, because I couldn't believe that I was contracted to go across the world in an island that's south of India in the middle of the ocean, to sing. I couldn't believe that I was actually sought out to go and sing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, if I'm worth this, and I need to make sure um, I need to make sure I take this seriously, and really really dig into what I have to say about my thoughts and everything. So that experience was such a blessing to have at that moment in my life. And the company, I mean, I went with one of my favorite guitarists, Mr. Dusty Bra, um, and he he was just one of those musicians that just he let me do an experiment, and he would just, yeah, sure, try it, yeah, let's go for it. And I think that's another big thing that I would advise a singer is to surround themselves by musicians that encourage them, empower them, that teach them things. You should never feel inferior for being a singer. Not, sometimes we go into this singing and we don't really understand how music works, or how musicians play certain chords, or how,
Yeah.
even if you don't know, um, just make sure you're around people that are willing to teach you these things, and make sure you're willing to hear them and be
Mm-hmm.
curious about it, and help them. I was listening to Rebecca's interview, and then she said something like, hang out, help them pack up. That's when you learn what goes where. And I mean, don't pack up too much, because then they have their own way of packing instruments. But
Right.
help.
Don't try to load it in their car.
No,
Don't do that.
right, right. But yeah, surround yourself by, you should never feel inferior for not knowing something that an instrumentalist is doing. Just ask them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great advice. It really is. And I think, um, not that you're putting yourself in like a inferior situation or subservient situation or whatever, but I think that when you put yourself in a place where you're working with musicians or singers who are more experienced than you, or have qualities or talents that you kind of are aspiring to, um, singers and musicians that set the bar high, I think that's a great thing. And um, to be mindful if you find yourself in projects where your skills are, I don't mean for this to sound like this, but say you're the best person in your band, okay, let's put it
Yeah.
that way, okay. um, you know Not that it's not a bad situation to be, but I'd always be looking for opportunities to grow and build on your musicianship. But that it can be hard, though. I mean, we want to there is this special dynamic between singers and and musicians, and there is a little bit of this. I've just found we kind of get into this like trying to prove yourself.
Right.
Like you said, you can sometimes feel um, that that doubt or that inferiority comes in, but I think it's easily dealt with if you just allow yourself to be open, to somebody else's guidance, and try to let your guard down or your ego down as much as you can, because
Right.
that's really where the growth in your life and your skill level will take off.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll add this. Some of the best singers and instrumentalists that I continue to work with understand the work that each other does. Some
Yeah.
of the best singers understand how instrumentalists and the work that they have to do to learn a song. Like
Yeah.
they have to do a lot of work to learn a song. And
Hmm.
then some of the best instrumentalists that I've worked with understand what it takes to sing. You know, our instrument is not visible. We have to do a lot of intuitive feeling to understand what's going on to produce a sound.
Hmm.
So I think I think just being aware, being very aware of what other people are doing to be there with you and make music with you. At the end of the day, the goal is to make music and to feel good and to make others feel good about music, and what they're listening to. So I think bringing down the ego, and say,
Hmm.
I want to understand what you're doing, and I'll explain what I'm doing. Let's understand each other so that there's peaceful, a peaceful way of making music and environment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of it too is like, well, I think this is exactly what you're saying, though, is just appreciating, everybody's skill set, and knowing that everybody is a contributes in their own way. Um, and I think the more you look at your group situations like that, and look at the people around you, and just appreciate everything that they bring to the table, whether that's musicianship skills or style, or just personality, you
Mm-hmm.
know bands can be such a family dynamic, but you're all kind of cogs in a wheel, right? That just kind of make things go round. And the more that you can, well, I'm really speaking personally here because I have felt the more that I kind of just allow um, everyone to be and do their thing, the the easier it is to get along and be creative with one another, and just enjoy the process a whole lot more.
And I relate that to the classroom. Like I recently started trying to trying to understand both of my worlds and say, well, I'm in the classroom, I'm performing to this kids,
Hmm.
and they're all band members. They all have different talents, and I just need to see how we all contribute to this one beautiful song.
Yeah.
So I have my little artists that I'm very thankful to be around, and at the same time I go back to music and I say, well, I'm just trying to create a different kind of song over here.
Hmm.
Got to treat it that way.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
Um, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me tonight. I always love seeing you. Wish I could see you more, but I'm always lurking on Facebook and Instagram watching you. So happy for everything that's going on in your life, and um, tell everybody again about the live stream that you guys are doing and where they can find that.
Right. So Tonga Ross Mao and myself, we do a live stream every Friday at 6:30. You can log on to either of our Instagrams. My Instagram is Music Mariela,
Hmm.
and then his Instagram is The Art of Tonga.
Hmm.
And then you can also log on to Facebook, to his Facebook. His Facebook handle is Tonga Ross Mao. Um, we can type that on the chat.
Yeah, we'll put it in the comments.
Yeah. So yeah, we're here every Friday. We do about 20-minute sets, and we usually do the songs that we like. Try to
Yeah.
serenade you on Fridays.
Yes, it's so great. I loved it. So that gives everybody about 3 days to get their requests in.
Yes, please.
Yeah. But make sure you check it out. And I'm going to be doing these interviews once or twice a week. I just kind of want to keep it up just to, keep the good news circulating because while it is a tough time for sure, there are really good things going on in the community, and I think the more we just kind of keep looking forward and supporting one another, the better. So if you're here now, there's going to be more great singers like Mariela on in the future. And I spoke to Whitney Shea last week and Rebecca Jade. So take a look at those interviews. Those were some really great conversations. And if you're a singer out there and want to do the interview with me, just contact me and we'll try to make that happen. But I guess we'll just say goodbye to everybody for tonight. And I'll put all of your info in the links. And I just love you so much. And
I
I
love you
truly,
so much.
truly miss
Thank you
you.
so
And
much. And I have to say, this wonderful, wonderful lady, um, Miss Danielle, you have mentored me. You have been a mentor to me. Coming over to the States and singing, you showed me the ways of what it is like to sing in San Diego and in Los Angeles and all around. So thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much um, for bringing singers, for bringing a light on singers, and then for just being a wonderful, wonderful mentor, a wonderful coach, and a wonderful singer.
oh, thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you so much. And thanks for everybody who jumped on. And I tried to watch the comments the best I could. So I'm sorry if I didn't catch your comment or shout out and say hello to you, but I'll get better at this, I promise.
Thank you so much for
Okay.
watching.
Have a great night. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.